Welcome to Success Superstars, episode number 189, your place for inspiration and the blueprint of success for peak performers just like you. And my special guest today, David Zaragoza from AAG. David, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, a lot of folks won't even know who AAG is. I happen to know a lot of your senior leaders and folks as the leading industry leading folks in reverse mortgage. Tell us a little bit about you and AAG.
You know, it's really interesting. Well, first of all, I'm the national director for our coach division. So I work with a few coaches and I work with salespeople across the whole country. So we're located in almost every state across the country. But what's really interesting, Mark, is I recently ran into a group of real estate agents, actually at a golf tournament. We were just talking about golf a little bit ago. And it's interesting to me when we start talking about the products that our company has to offer, being that they're mortgage related. So reverse mortgages, actually they're home equity conversion mortgages, known as reverse mortgages. Not very many people know a lot about how they work. And what's interesting is the people that think they understand how reverse mortgage works, a lot of times have the wrong information. But whenever I tell somebody that I work for American Advisors Group, a lot of times I get a question mark look on the face. But then I mention our spokesperson, Tom Selleck, and then people kind of get the picture. So we do a lot of marketing, advertising with Tom, nationally broadcasted.
Yeah, and I know that generates lots of inquiries from consumers. You know, one of the segments of the population that is the fastest growing is the senior segment, which this product fits for. Now, before we get into the product, tell me about your role as a coach. As a coach, whether you're coaching mortgage professionals or real estate professionals, are there certain things that you have noticed that are common amongst people that are struggling to get to their breakthrough?
Absolutely. We held a conference. So with COVID kind of taking down a lot of our in-person interaction that we used to have, our leadership got together and we thought, let's put on an event. Even though it's remote, let's just try to, 2019 was kind of a tough year for a lot of people. And so one of the things that we did for that conference is we pulled in it was 10 of our top performing loan officers to come in and talk with the country about some of their best practices, some of the things that they do. And what we noticed, so I went to work interviewing these individuals before we brought them on to speak at the conference. And the common theme with every single one of our top performers was that they had a sincere interest in understanding the client that they were serving. I've recently heard some sales tips from some podcasts I've been listening to where one gentleman talks about stop selling and start serving. And I know it's difficult to say that to people. It's kind of like when you say stop talking and start listening. That's a smooth statement, but the reality is people don't know what to say to get the conversation going to where they can actually stop and listen. And that's what our top performers were really, really good at because they were so interested in the life of the other person. It made that connection with that client so real. They built rapport with that client, unlike anyone else could possibly do. But more importantly, they understood what the actual needs were of the client. This is the piece I would say that I find most sales professionals, especially in our industry, we want to get to the solution, right? We know there's a problem, so we want to jump ahead and let me get you the numbers. And so what we'll find with some of our performers that are struggling is they connect with the client, they get the nuts and bolts of understanding what the person's looking to do, and then they immediately jump into the solution and talking about the product, talking about the features, of the loan or what it can do, without really having that deep connection with the client and understanding what their real need is.
Yeah, I love that. And that could be the quote of the episode is stop selling and start serving. You and I have probably noticed this in our own personal things that we've bought or sold or been a part of. When I call it when someone's internally focused, like what's in it for me, versus externally focused, what's in it for you. You can tell it immediately, right?
Yeah, you really can. The orientation, the self-orientation is the number one killer in building trust with somebody. Like you said, as soon as someone can identify that, I guess it's like manipulation. Manipulation is when you influence somebody for your benefit, not for theirs. As soon as they can identify that that's happening, and we're much more intelligent, I think, than we give ourselves credit for. We pick up on subtle indicators. So that's why I really like to start with when I'm coaching loan officers, to up their game. I really like to start with what their belief set is first. Like, what do you actually think about your product? What do you think about what you do for a living? What's the story that they tell themselves? Because if that story is about making money or it's about fulfilling their own personal need, that orientation is going to carry over into that interaction with that client. And that client's going to pick up on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's transition over into AAG. There's a lot of products and there's a lot of misunderstanding around reverse mortgages. One of them that I think every agent on the planet should know about is what we call the reverse purchase. Tell us a little bit about why a reverse purchase makes sense and why a senior who qualifies for that might want to consider it.
That's a great question. There's 5 really important things that you can look for in areas that the reverse for purchase can impact a senior. The first one I would say is a senior potentially has sold a home, so they've got now cash available to purchase another home. The idea, I think, my father's generation grew up. Part of their retirement plan was having no mortgage payment. That was part of the plan. In this particular instance, let's say a senior has sold the home, or maybe they had a mortgage payment, so now they've got cash. So they paid off their mortgage, they've got X amount of dollars for cash. And what we're finding is in order for the senior to be able to stay within that cash budget, they have to significantly downsize or move into areas outside, where the property values are not as expensive. So let's just say, for example, we have somebody in Newport Beach sells their home. Now they got to move out to Temecula to be able to stay within that budget of the cash that they have left over. So in this instance, a reverse mortgage could come into play to help this particular borrower increase their purchasing power. So if I had, $500,000 available to me in cash, but the home that I wanted was closer to $1 million, well, now I can take my $500,000, put that towards my purchase, and use a reverse mortgage for the remaining balance and still carry no monthly mortgage payment.
Wow. So for some folks, in context of a financial plan, this could be a very sophisticated financial planning tool.
Yeah, where it really started off, the reverse for purchase is a newer concept, and it's taking some time to get the traction, with real estate agents and with people out in the market. But where it started was that idea of having no mortgage payment. A senior would be in their home. You have to be 62 years or older in order to qualify for the program. That's the number one catch. But the senior is living in their home. They have a mortgage payment. Maybe they're forced to retire. They get injured on the job and they can't work, or maybe they're only collecting Social Security income. I think some of the statistics that come along with this are pretty mind-blowing. $50,000 is the average amount of savings that seniors have when they walk into retirement. That's on average. However, 1 out of every 3 have 0 saved, which is just mind-blowing. So now we have someone who's living on a fixed income. They're not able to work, or they retired from their job, and they can't really keep up with the mortgage payment. What this would force them to have to do is to sell their home. Well, they still got to live somewhere. So again, it doesn't really offer a lot of solutions without a reverse mortgage. Now you apply a reverse mortgage, it'll pay off the existing balance of whatever they have left, and now they're not required to make that monthly mortgage payment. So it's kind of like living, with the mortgage being paid off. It's not paid off, but
Yeah, right.
it's similar to that. So then the purchase concept came into play, and I think some of the other areas where it's impacting is, 1, purchasing power. So if I don't have enough funds to buy the home that I really want, I can apply a reverse mortgage to carry the balance. The second piece is if I want to keep my cash, if I got $500,000 and I don't want to spend the entire balance of that $500,000, I could still purchase a $500,000 home. However, put $250 down and have the reverse mortgage carry the balance. That's another really popular option. So they can retain their capital in their savings account. There's 2 areas where I think real estate agents and their clients could really benefit from understanding that the credit requirements to qualify for a reverse mortgage are nowhere near what they are for traditional financing. So just as a good example, we don't even look at the credit score. We look at the trade line history. And it doesn't mean that they're not qualified if they miss payments. It just means that taxes and insurance have to be accounted for in setting up a reverse mortgage for that client. But
Right.
credit and income. So again, we're talking about clients that are on fixed income that have a hard time getting approved for a refinance or for a purchase transaction. This is a great opportunity for them to still be able to make that transaction happen.
Well, that's amazing. And just like a full service real estate professional, this is just another tool in the tool bag that we all need to be aware of. Whether it's the home swap, whether it's iBuy, this is another tool to help bring the solutions to our clients to investigate and see if it's the right choice for them.
That's right. Yeah, it is. And one of the things that I coach with the loan officers that I work with, it's interesting. We got to coach people on how to coach people. Where when real estate agents, or we work with a lot of financial professionals, we work with financial planners and mortgage lenders. What we find is it's difficult for some people to talk about the reverse mortgage or to get the conversation started with their clients. And so I do a lot of coaching with my reps to coach their partners on how to have a discussion with the client. And it really starts from, and this is something that I'm finding, if we can do better at this part, we will offer a better customer experience for our client if we can do this right. But it's a full, like you said, it's a full service conversation. I'm not just talking to the client about the property that I want to sell them or that they want to buy. I'm understanding the entire life situation. We call them the 4 quadrants: property, family, lifestyle, and finance. And if I understand that whole story behind the life of that client, then I could make a recommendation. So I think the best example for this, Mark, would be if I don't have a client that has bad credit or has low income, I would have the tendency to think, okay, reverse for purchase may not be the option for them. But if I really dig into the life of the client and I come to find out some details, like the other example I gave you where they would really benefit from holding on to additional cash that they have from the sale of their prior home. Without digging in and understanding that, I can't offer a solution that really fits their need the best way it possibly can. I'm going to stick with whatever conventional tools that I have accessible to me. So starting with understanding that client's life and really digging into what those needs are, where they are, where they want to be in their lifestyle, and then being able to know of these products. We have a session coming up with your agents, and we're talking about financing options that most people don't know about. Most of your competitors out there don't know anything about a reverse for purchase or how this works. So they're not paying attention to it. They're not looking for the signals with their clients to identify if it's really the best option for them.
Yeah, really. And as you and I know as coaches, the true competitive advantage is a superior customer experience.
Yeah.
And having the knowledge, just knowing what's available in the marketplace is one of those things. Well, as we wrap up this episode, I'm assuming all of our folks who are listening in, our audience, can go to aag.com and learn more about your company and the offerings there. What else would you like to tell the audience about AAG before we wrap up?
Well, I would say that you can definitely find information on aag.com and americanadvisorsgroup.com. You can find some information there. I wouldn't be opposed to having your audience reach out to me directly. We have information that comes straight from our servicing department. So if a client were to get into a reverse mortgage, the information that they receive that gives them all the details, because there's so many misconceptions in the market about what reverse mortgage is. Right. And what it can do, or what the alternatives are if something happens. And this information is so crystal clear as to the actual rules from our servicing department of what happens once a reverse mortgage is put into play. So I wouldn't be opposed to having your folks reach out to me directly if you're okay with that.
Okay, and we just put your email address in the posting that when this goes live, and that's acceptable?
Perfect. That would be perfect. Yep.
Great. Okay, well, we'll do that. Well, I am so grateful that you joined us and shared with the audience today about reverse mortgages and the reverse purchase. As you said, it's an unknown gem and another tool that we can add into our tool bag.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we'll have you back for some more sessions throughout the year. And until we see you again on another episode of Success Superstars, may your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears. Take care.